All right. So before we go into layouting, let's first save our work. So if I go into save here, he will want to have us log into GeoGebra Tube. I can just show you this if it works. Yes, we can't use it because it hasn't been updated yet. So we can only log into GeoGebra Tube from a modern browser, but the sort of in-app browser of GeoGebra hasn't been updated yet. So no, we can't use that in here. Well, that's the way, anyway, that's how I understand it. But to save it actually to disk, we go into download as a GGB file. This saving dialog, you can just ignore it because the actual save dialog will appear here. And yeah, we can save it wherever we want, give it some name. Maybe open new folder, say demo, and call this safety parabola. All right. Now, let's lay out some issues here. So what I like to do, I prefer a look that has a black background and white axes and other things. So this is the first thing that I would do and recommend for consumption on the screen. So we go into the general settings by just clicking somewhere and whoops, here, and now we can choose the background color, turn to black, which looks a bit weird because all the lines right now are drawn in black. But let's just stay in here. Go into the axis colors, change that to white. Also make them bold to make them pop out a little bit more. And now this, I can actually also select the objects in here. So this will be the actual trajectory. Let's make that red and also a lot thicker. And also let's change the opacity to 100% to really make it pop out. What I will also change is I will remove the label because it doesn't really have any purpose. Let's now go to the safety parabola. I can also just select it in here, there it is. And let's make it say yellow. And yeah, let's also make it a bit, pop out a bit more. Now the start vector, maybe let's make it green. And the angle alpha should be, I don't know, maybe cyan. Now, something nice that we can do is we can actually also change the color of the sliders. And I should really recommend to make it match the color of the objects as they are shown. Something else we can change is the size of the angle. Actually, no, we can't change that. But something else that would be nice is to tag the labels up here. So for the angle, we go here and write a caption, which will read in bold. Alpha equals, and then the value of alpha. In this case, it uses degrees. You could also switch it to radians, but it makes more sense to have it in degrees here. And we do the same thing for V0. Actually, let's see, we can copy this and paste. And this is V0. There you go. Me as a physicist, maybe we should add units to this, but I'm a bit lazy right now. Now, personal taste. Keep the grid or remove it. Looks cleaner without the grid. And but we don't really need the labels on the axes, do we? No. Let's remove that and that. And that already is a really nice and clean look. It's maybe a bit misleading that this vector right there touches on the safety parabola. So maybe let's adjust the scale here. This looks nice. And last thing, when we are really done with layouting everything, we close the algebra view, because that is not something that the consumers of this content will really need or appreciate. Oh, there's also a label here on the safety parabola that I don't want to have. And also, very last thing, as we interact with this thing now, you see that well, we can click in here, and sometimes we sort of are able to select an object. See, it will be highlighted a little bit. Yeah. So we can sort of click on the objects and do things with it. And actually, I want to disable this as much as possible. So we can't do that here, but we have to go into the settings. And now I can click on this thing, and now I'm in the settings of the safety parabola. And in advanced, I can disable selection allowed. And now you see I can't really click on it. Do the same with this vector, with the angle. Don't do it with the sliders though, because they need to remain interactive. And also, I sort of think let's keep it for the trajectory itself, because then we can go into options here and reactivate the trace, which is something that we probably shouldn't be able to do if we can't select it. Let's try it out. Let's see if that works. See, no, it doesn't work anymore. And if I want to make this object selectable again, I have to select it from the algebra view. So we go in here, we go into view. Now this menu is a bit, maybe a bit hard to understand, but these are all the entries of the file section. We go into edit, and he closes the file section, opens the edit section, and so forth. We can, in view, reactivate the algebra view. There's our trajectory. Close this hamburger menu and reactivate the selection. And now we close this again, and close this again, and close this. And we are just about done. Maybe readjust those labels a little bit so they don't collide too much. There you go. So for exporting, we've already seen that we can download it as a GeoGebra file, but well, let's do that first. So again, ignore this dialog, because this is the important one. Now, if we save this as the previous file, on top of the previous file, there's a bug in GeoGebra that will make that it actually doesn't save it. What we have to do, really unfortunate, is go in here, go into the demo folder, and remove the old file by hand. And now we can save it. And now here actually we will perform the saving. Now let's see how we can export this as an HTML file. So we go into Activity as Web Page. You see there are some other options in here as well. If you want to embed this into LaTeX documents, for example, for which I would recommend a light color scheme. But for consumption on the screen, it's better, on my personal preference, to have a dark scheme. So let's also call this safety parabola. There you go. And now, let's see, do I have any embarrassing tabs? No. Let's just open it. And takes a while. And I have the interactive applet. It's a bit small. So something else that you see here, we have this menu bar, so we can actually do more constructions right in here. We have an input bar that, well, I don't really use personally. So we have this whole thing. So we actually have the whole GeoGebra in here if you want to keep editing. There are also options to remove these parts, to really focus the attention of the learner on the content. But you have these options only on GeoGebra Tube, which I will cover in another video.